It's the hottest show on the web. It's the fifth Mascot. It's all about your Cincinnati Reds, and we are only on WCPO.com. Oh my, what?
Ridiculous, right?
No, I thought maybe, you were going to some like 1890s party that I wasn't sure about.
Well, I might be.
Well, the way you behaved last week talking about this team like it was the second coming of the 27 Yankees, I'd come out here in a costume too.
This is poignant for that very reason. It's as ridiculous as the last 6 games have been. And in fact, I can't breathe out of my nose.
No, I wouldn't want that.
So I'm going to go ahead and take that
off. Where did you find that, by the way?
Those are being given away this weekend.
They were?
At the ballpark. Yes.
Wow.
Mr. Red Hat and Mustache.
This coming weekend?
Yes, this coming week. Fashion statement. Yes, ridiculous.
Right.
Worst road trip in 5 years,
yeah.
I think. And that sums it up.
They had no quality, one quality start. They had nobody that hit anything appreciably. And the worst part about it is the Yankees aren't great.
No, they're not.
And the Brewers are the team they're chasing.
Yeah, and the Brewers were coming down to earth apparently until the All-Star break, which, their pitching has never been stellar, but you got 4 guys in that lineup with above 300 average. Supposedly, the philosophy of baseball is that great pitching almost always beats great hitting, and in this particular case, that did not come true.
They didn't hit. They hit as a team less than 200.
Yeah.
That's called below the Mendoza line, by the way.
That is like the Mason-Dixon line.
51 strikeouts, just a handful of walks, I think 8. And it reflects itself in the National League Central Division standings.
Yeah.
Because this team has gone from being a game and a half back and quite possibly could have been up a half game before the All-Star break to now they're looking like what they looked like back in May.
We were so close, and I was just able to celebrate my optimism for the year and see a team that when they had at least some resemblance of health that they could play well. And of course you got the Votto and Phillips thing, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
But now look at this.
Horrible. Horrible. This is the team last week you said was going to the playoffs. I've been the one consistently who said this team really and truly doesn't have much to go on this season.
Yeah, and it's an offensive thing right now. Without Votto and without Phillips, not only do you lose 2 big bats.
2 for 40 in that stretch.
Not only do you lose big bats, you lose the presence for the rest of the lineup. I've said this a few times. When you don't have 2 guys that you know can perform as a pitcher on the other team, you're just going to attack.
2 for 40 with runners in scoring position. They strike out 51 times. They walk 8 times. They were behaving like it was their first day in long pants. They were clueless. It was embarrassing to watch.
It was T-ball, but they forgot to put the ball on. And Johnny Peralta, just one of the pitchers that they faced, who is nowhere near stellar, made this team look like that. Like they were swinging at rubber hoses, and it was rough.
Well, the other thing, too, that I think we discovered over this 6-game span is that bench players play like bench players. And for everybody that wanted 152 games of Brian Pena, 150 games of Ramon Santiago, 150 games from Skip Schumacher, and they were all going to be the answer, there's a reason why those guys were signed as bench players, and they prove it. Every time they're out there, they prove it. Not bad in spurts. Long haul, forget about it.
And those guys, Santiago in particular, he's a solid defender. We rely on him for coming in, particularly late in games, but he's nothing other than that. Now, the Reds as a team, supposedly, are great defenders, and that's never been a worry of ours, except for the last 6 games. Cincinnati leads the league in fielding percentage. This is great, .988. But just a few days ago, this was a few percentage points higher, and that's reflected by some of the play that we saw. We had the dropped fly ball between 3 guys who didn't look too concerned about it.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
That's the last play in the last game of the series against the Yankees.
Yes.
Now, you had Todd Frazier on first base.
Yes.
Skip Schumacher on second base.
Yes.
Now, one could argue that Schumacher is not playing his natural position. One could certainly argue that Frazier wasn't.
No.
The right fielder is Jay Bruce.
Yes.
The only guy that has any kind of a shot at making a play on that ball is the guy coming toward the ball, not the guys going out towards it. That was Jay Bruce's ball. I don't care how shallow it was hit over the infield dirt. That was Jay Bruce's ball.
I agree with you. And I don't know what happened to Jay. It was looking so promising at the end of June, even at the beginning of July. I mean, is this "I lost my pal" syndrome? Is because Joey's on the bench? Does that mentally affect? I know those guys are great buds and they play off of each other, not just at the plate in the lineup, but really, truly, chemistry-wise. Is that possible? Is that something we can point at and say, Jay?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Figure it out.
But hey, listen, PJ, the last 3 years, for good chunks of time, the Reds have played without Joey Votto. If there's one thing this team ought to be used to, it's playing without Joey Votto.
That's true.
I think.
That's true.
And it's not even guys dropping balls or booting balls. Look at Heisey on Monday night out in left field. Now, everybody made a big stink here a couple of years ago about Yonder Alonso. He can't play left field. Before that, Adam Dunn. He's lazy. He doesn't get the balls. I'm watching Heisey out there. No, he didn't get tagged with an error, but he played out there again like it was some sort of foreign country he was in.
Yeah, and Bruce didn't pick anybody up. What was it? Wednesday's game. Just let a ball go right by him.
Marty is even keeling over.
He's always upset when we talk about these things. We should try and find lighter topics, really. Jay let a ball go to the wall behind him again. It just didn't look like he was all there last couple of games. I don't know if that's just maybe a little bit of a hangover from the All-Star break. Guys went home, they got to hug their wives and had a good time.
Get new wives if you're doing that.
Maybe we need to do that. That could be it.
Where's these balls coming in from?
They're somewhere. I'm catching them.
I know, you're doing a very good job today.
So you got to wonder, with that lackadaisical feel.
Lethargic.
Yes.
A malaise.
So many words.
Yes.
Do we need someone to throw a bench or a chair? Or, Brian Price got kicked out of one of the Brewers games after arguing a check swing call from Devin Mesoraco at home plate. And you know what? I didn't think he got enough credit, or I didn't think he gave enough credit to get kicked out. I don't think he put enough effort into it. It's just like the ump got nervous, and he didn't want him in his face anymore, so he sent him away. But he wasn't angry.
No.
He wasn't fired up.
No.
He wasn't kicking the dirt.
No.
He wasn't moving his body. He was just having a casual conversation. He must have said the wrong word.
This guy, I don't know him well as a person, but I've been around him professionally. I think he may be too nice. I think he just might be too nice of a guy, and you can't change what you are. You certainly can't be anything different than what you are. I can't.
Sure.
But I think when you're a manager, you either got to lead, follow, or get out of the way. And if you don't do number one, you don't survive. And the way you lead, I think, is to just, and I think teams take on their managers' personalities. I really do.
Yes.
And everybody wants Lou Piniella back here. I like Lou Piniella. I don't think that works in this day and age. But I do think a little more fire, a little more accountability, a little more charge. He comes off as too nice a guy. What we're talking about, a trade here?
Well, a tirade. We want a tirade. That's what we want. And
there's an I there.
Yes.
Need a tirade.
Yes, hidden.
Oh, I thought it said need a trade.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Well, we're going to
have to talk about that. I admire Brian Price's professionalism. I think he's an intelligent guy. I think he is calculated with what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's holding players accountable within the framework that he has to work with. I think this is up to the players now. I really do. And Brian, like you said, is who he is. He's not going to be the one who's going to fire this team up. We need someone internally. And who is that? Which player is going to call the meeting? Who's going to rally the troops? Who's going to throw the bench, throw the helmet?
There is nobody. There's nobody. Their best player, if you assume their best player is Votto, their best player is as laid back as this wall right here.
Yeah.
If Bruce is the same way, Frazier's got a little fire to him, but he's New Jersey goofy. I get that. Cozart, nothing's happened there. Mesoraco, there's nobody that does what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There is nobody on that team that does that.
Competitiveness is one thing. You can be as talented in the world, but you got to have drive.
Who said that?
I did.
Did you?
Quote me.
Wow. P.J. O'Keefe.
Write that down.
Available on a daily basis on WCPO.com.
That's right. In fact, tweet at us, and you'll find me with more quotes like
What's your Twitter handle?
Well, we're
because it's not called Twitter anymore.
No, they changed it.
They did, just like 3 seconds ago.
Well, we're breaking news here.
Yes, absolutely.
Fifth Mascot. Yeah, it's
hashtag Fifth Mascot.
We look at the team in general. We look at the depletedness, and you mentioned Votto, who is our team's best player.
Yes.
And he's nowhere to be seen right now, and neither is Phillips. The latest report, Jocketty said on ESPN radio a couple of days he expects at least another 5 weeks out of these guys. And there have been some more specific news about Phillips, some post-surgery stuff that's going well. But man, what do you do now to work around this? It's clear the offense isn't where it needs to be, and it's very obvious that without those two guys, there's no answers.
No, it's the whole right side of your infield. One is a multiple Gold Glove winner. The other is a Gold Glove winner. The guy that was the one-time Gold Glove winner is your MVP and arguably your best bat in the lineup. He certainly gets on base better than anyone else.
Yes.
So I don't know where you go. I don't know what you do. I don't know. Again, we're going to talk about trades in a little bit. But the road trip they had, nobody hit. They got no starting pitching of any consequence. And even when they do get good starting pitching, it has to be so good. It has to be 1 run allowed, 2 run allowed, or this team doesn't have a shot. So, I don't know what you do. If I'm the smart guys down at Great American Ballpark, I'm like that crazy dog. I don't know whether to sick him or come here. You're literally caught in no man's land.
Yeah, I think we're back to a point where we really need to rely on that pitching. And
Thought that with your left hand.
It just hasn't come. Yeah, I try and mix it up every once in a while. So while before we do talk about trades, tweet at us #FIFTHMASCOT.
Give my right hand to be
Mascot.
ambidextrous.
That would be good. Tweet at us about who you think we should trade. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But someone we should not trade from this show is our colleague, Mr. Satin.
Oh no, he's our Frank Robinson.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's absolutely. Well, he's always out and about down at Great American Ballpark, finding various mischief. But this week in particular, we wondered if what's Gapper? What is it? What kind of creature is he?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Smells sometimes too.
Yeah, let's see if we found out.
I mean, Gapper.
Hey, what's happening? It's Mr. Satin right here for the 5th Mascot. We're down here at the ballpark, and we're trying to figure out what the Gapper is. All right, you have any idea what Gapper is?
A gap between right and center field or left and center field.
Very true, but it is also our mascot. You have any idea what this? We're trying to figure out what this creature is. Any idea what this creature is?
Yeah, it could be Bigfoot.
A Bigfoot sighting?
Yeah.
For starters, Gapper's just a Philadelphia Fanatic Phil ripoff, okay?
I think that's a grouper.
What is Gapper? What is it?
Some type of mud dog thing. So that's like when you get hit with the ball and you lose all your teeth on the other sides. Now you're left with a smile that's a Gapper.
And in sort of a scary clown kind of way, my kids, Gapper, my daughter, real problems with Gapper.
They run away. Our mascot, Gapper. Do you have any idea what Gapper is?
If I had to take a guess, he's a homeless Sesame Street character. I'm not really sure. I have no idea.
Pretty good,
Your guess
man.
is as good as mine.
I like that, man.
A cross between a chicken and a hen.
Done. We've already summed it up. We got it. Go Reds! Go Reds! Go Reds!
Rosie Red?
Yeah.
She's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
That guy was creepy.
Little bit.
Mr. Satin's with us. Gapper frightens me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll tell you why. I'm not sure how often that costume is cleaned.
Well, that's true. I mean, there's a long off season.
A lot of sweat.
Cleaned many times in the off season.
Yeah.
During the season, I don't know.
Don't shake his hand.
And I thought I saw him smoking a butt once. One of those
A
deals.
couple different butts, it gets weird.
One of those deals. But what I like about Gapper is the kids like him.
Do they?
No, the kids.
Okay.
The
All right.
kids
Yeah,
like
okay.
Gapper.
I love Gapper.
Yeah, right. The adults have issues though.
Well, adults have issues to begin with, but I thought the kids like him.
Yeah.
Yes, they love him, and they
true.
run around with them.
Yeah.
A chicken and a hen?
Yeah. People
I don't see it.
There's clueless people running around there
don't see
about
it.
what Gapper is. Still to this day.
How old is this thing?
Gapper?
Yeah.
He's been around for a while.
Not in the old
new-
ballpark. It's strictly in this ballpark.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
new to this ballpark,
He's a
right,
GABP
right.
invention.
Yeah.
2002, actually.
So before this
Oh,
ballpark.
wow.
Well, just before. I think he was soft launched.
I think he
at
was.
Cadbury.
Was he like?
launched.
He was a soft
Yeah,
launch.
from Chuck E. Cheese, they're like, here we go.
Was there like a? Was it like a ripoff of the guy in Cleveland? What's the guy's name? Slider? Is that the guy?
Oh.
Philly.
I was thinking
Philly.
the Fanatic.
The
Right?
Fanatic?
Yeah,
I think
oh,
it is a
yeah.
ripoff. The guy, the Philly Fanatic, and his name came from, again, we're here at Fifth Mascot. We've got wealth of knowledge.
Turning over the stone here.
A young fan won 2 season tickets for submitting the winning name to name Gapper. And
That's
as
a
someone
pretty
said
good
in Mr. Satin's adventures there, a Gapper is in fact a base hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that.
We knew that one. That was
Yes, we
that
did
was
know
That was pretty strong.
Right.
But do they have too many mascots? I mean, they got him, they got Rosie Red, they got Mr. Red Legs, they got Mr. Red. And then of course there's us.
And there's us.
But are there too many? When are too many mascots too many?
Right.
I mean, when do you have
Well,
enough?
we need the 5th one, but we could drop.
We could be the 4th one though.
That's
if
true.
One of those is
Yeah, we
going
could
away.
slide into that.
We could rename the show if we have to.
Now,
That's true.
The one guy that said that Rosie Red was smoking.
We'll keep
yeah.
her.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
yeah,
got kind
she's
of that.
in.
She's got kind of that thing going on like
She's
that.
got swing.
There are-
She's
She's
got
got
swing.
that.
Yeah.
Not very many female mascots running around.
That's true.
So
I think
this is
it's more
something
of
to be
a-
proud of.
that.
It's a sachet, I think. It was.
Oh, yeah. Definitely movement.
Hall of Fame weekend's coming up.
You betcha. Exciting time.
Ken Griffey Jr. is coming back.
He's coming
Nice.
for the Reds Hall of Fame.
That's
he'll
great.
Be,
That's good to
that's
hear.
great news for our city.
Yeah, we got, and then we got the Hall of Fame weekend coming up for the Major League Baseball, which we were up there. Well, I'm trying to think when it was. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we were up there for Larkin.
That's right.
That's nice.
And he'll be there.
I have
Those
no
guys.
problem, honestly, with anybody in this class.
Being
I mean,
hurt?
I'm not a big Tony La Russa fan because I think he invented the game, and I think if you invent the game, you shouldn't go to the Hall of Fame. but I mean, any of these, Cox was great. Glavine and Maddox are top notch.
Some of the
Yeah.
best.
Frank Thomas, you can argue he was a one-trick pony, but honestly, I thought he was a feared hitter. And honestly, Joe Torre should go in just for putting up with George Steinbrenner for all
For
that.
all those years, absolutely.
And you know, his wife is from Cincinnati.
Oh,
Joe Torre, yeah,
There you
West
go.
Side girl.
No kidding.
Yep.
We'll have to get in touch with her. You know, surprising fact to me, Frank Thomas, career average of 301. I don't think many people realize how consistent and efficient of a hitter that Frank Thomas is.
You're right.
pretty good.
I would not, until I saw that came out, I would never have pegged him as a 300 hitter. I knew he was a great power hitter, but never would have
Yeah,
been.
and walked a ton. And was an MVP at sort of a dry time as far as offense goes in 93, 94. That was just before the steroid boom.
Who?
With Mark
Right.
McGuire and Sammy Sosa. But yeah,
He's not on steroids right there.
the
in
big
that photo.
hurt. The
Who?
big hurt.
Who's not?
Big hurt. He didn't look like he was.
He wasn't on
roids in that photo.
steroids.
Not
No,
that
he looked. He
photo.
might have been on Skyline like for about a month.
Hey, that's all right. That's welcomed.
And I guess did Torrey get in for? He didn't get in for his playing career, did he?
No,
Got
no,
into
no. The managerial career is
Same with
what
La Russa,
spurred him.
too.
Yes, and La Russa as well. And that leads me to this question.
Okay.
So I respect Tony La Russa much in the way that I respect Yadier Molina.
Sure.
But
That
can
guy.
you ever really be excited for Tony La Russa? Can a Reds fan be happy
No.
and proud
No.
that Tony La Russa gets
No.
in?
No, that's a turn the page right there.
That would be like saying, could you be happy if you're a Bengals fan? Could you be happy if Mean Joe Green or the
Franco Harris?
No, I'm trying to think of the wide Hines Ward.
Ah,
happy
yes.
No
if
way.
they got in the Hall of
That
Fame.
guy.
You can't be.
Hines
I mean, you
Ward, I hope he
respect
never
them,
gets in the Hall
but
of
you
Fame.
can't say, wow, oh, wow, Tony. And it's the same way with La Russa. You know, I think if they had hired him here to be the manager instead of Brian Price, I think there would have been an outright revolt from some of these fans. I think there's that much dislike for the dude.
Yeah, that would.
And it's got nothing to do with him as a person, because nobody knows him as a person. It's just that he was, you know, he was the manager of the evil empire for
Right.
all those years.
That changes once you bring home a World Series championship, though. But
I don't know.
but
It's
there,
like, I don't
there's
think-
going to be a lot of.
Yeah.
Not that I would say this is a good comparison, but I don't think anybody really embraced Jim Edmonds when he was here for like
No, that's
2
true.
months.
No,
I mean,
no.
that
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
true.
you know, and then, but I just think once you wear a uniform for as long as he wore one for the arch enemy, it's
Yeah.
really, really different. You know, Schumacher
true.
and Ludwig did, but that's not bringing like Albert Pujols or
no, it's not the face.
any of those guys that,
right.
you know, I don't.
And Tony La Russa was the face of the St. Louis Cardinals for
Just
a
ask him.
long, long time. That's right. Speaking of Hall of Famers, you mentioned Barry Larkin. He'll be attending the Hall of Fame ceremony. We will see Barry.
That was 14 years ago. That deal was on. I remember I was sitting in, can I tell a story?
Yes.
I was sitting in Cooperstown, and we were getting ready to do a special on the big three that went in: Tony Perez, Sparky Anderson, and Marty Brennaman.
Landmark year for the Reds.
Marty.
And in the middle of that celebration, Larkin is like almost dealt to the Mets, would not agree to the trade.
Fortunately.
And then they turn around like 3 minutes later and sign him to a 3-year, $27 million deal. But he was almost a Met. He really was.
Yeah, no, that cemented his presence locally here. I mean, can you imagine if Larkin had gone to the Mets? Who knows what happened to his career? I mean, but he was one of those few guys, those hometown guys. You don't get them very often. You know, Griffey, as much as he is a Cincinnati boy, he was in Seattle for a long time, so he's not really a hometown guy.
No.
So yeah, 14 years ago, rejecting a trade, and it's good.
And
That's awesome.
I think too, it's difficult, not as much as it used to be, but it's still difficult for a shortstop to get into the Hall of Fame. Pee-wee, Reese, Phil Rizzuto, they waited forever. Concepcion still hasn't gotten in. But I think had Barry Larkin gone to the Mets, and then after that, he would have been a hired gun. They would have traded him. He would have gone to a couple of other teams.
Around.
He might not have gotten into the Hall of Fame as quickly as he did. I think the fact he stayed with one team for his entire career, and obviously he had terrific numbers.
Yes.
I think because of that, he got in as quickly as he did.
I think you are right.
I might be. I don't know. I just have that feeling.
No, I think you're right. Mr. Satin, we hope you stay with our team.
Hey.
Yeah. Is there a chance?
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Free agency? Is anything going on? Who's your agent?
Who is my agent?
That's
I don't know. Let's talk.
I don't know. I'll represent.
Here we go. I got Ken Brew representing Mr. Satin right here.
I'll represent you.
And so
Fifth Mascot.
We were glad to see that Mr. Satin will be remaining with us in a long-term contract negotiated live here on the
because
Fifth
we'd
Mascot.
have to fill another 5 minutes if we did.
That's right, we would. And we were glad that Barry stayed with us. But what we need now, we don't need a hometown boy right now.
No.
We need
wins.
Bats.
Oh my gosh, we need some W's.
Bats and wins.
Streaky. It's time to.
By the way, it said
switch.
Senators and Snakes. Wasn't that a song? I don't like senators and snakes.
I'm gonna look that one up.
I think it was.
We'll tweet that out later.
That could be a jingle right there.
Who's your guys' top pick for trade? I mean, that's what we've been talking about for a little while. And who do you want? Oh well, we can take a look at the
it could be though
long-term outlook here next 6 days. And
Simon's got to be better than what he was on the road.
Yes.
Cueto was okay.
Yeah.
Latos was horrible.
Yeah.
Bailey was
giving up homers again.
Well, yeah, but Bailey gave you the quality start.
Yeah.
Leak got tattooed. Simon, you know what? I'm worried about Simon just because of all of the work he put in before the All-Star break, which was much more than his arm is used to. You've got to. It's got to catch up with.
We're getting close to that point, and that's for the very reason we need the bats to pick up. There's no easy feat here. Gonzalez and Pfister, they can hurl. Cahill's shown that he's very talented.
Yeah, he is.
And so this all leads up to the trade deadline on Thursday the 31st.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's here
next
right
week.
now.
That is 1 week from now. In fact, we may have a trade deadline special.
Really?
Well, maybe.
Wow.
We'll figure it out.
It's time. We got to do something.
We got a week.
Year.
We'll let you know on Twitter. #FifthMascot.
I think I think if they get to the deadline and they're still 5.5 back, I don't think they do anything. I really don't. I mean, they're falling even farther back in the wild card race than what they were. Their best shot now is this division. But honestly, and it's terrible to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I say a lot of terrible things. You got to let some guys just walk the plank. In essence, take one for the team.
Yep.
If you don't have your right side of your infield, and they're not going to be back until the end of August, then it doesn't matter whether you add a Marlon Byrd to play left field. It doesn't matter if you add a bullpen arm. If your best players aren't there, what you're doing in essence, unless it's somebody just wants to get rid of somebody and they'll take anything, you're giving away players that can help you 2 or 3 years from now. There's a certain point where you have to, as an organization, baseball-wise, say it's not working. You can't admit it publicly because you still have tickets you got to sell, but organization, they may say, look, even if we got Marlon Byrd, would it make that much of a difference?
You know what, I got to tell you, just to go back about that whole getting fired up thing, we need some guys getting fired up in here. I mean, just the other day I watched the whole, Rob Dibble the Cubs game with bat night where he throws at the back and all of a sudden Andre Dawson's throwing out all the bats. We need a guy like that.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of some of these cancerous guys. You know, God love them, but you know, it's time. It's time to, we've been talking about this forever. Guys that aren't bringing anything to the table, who won't even travel with the team when they're hurt, these kind of things. I think it's time to part the.
They don't travel unless they can do baseball things. Why can't you be there for moral support?
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody else does.
That's part of baseball. It's part of momentum. You have to have a strong locker room. I mean, you play for the guy in front of you in the lineup,
right?
And you play for the 8 guys behind you on the pitching mound.
Look at this.
And this is Walt Jocketty.
There you go, right there.
This is a great illustration again.
Kind of looks like Mike Brown.
A little bit, yeah. And this is
Never
the
seen
attitude.
in the same place.
This is what Walt Jocketty. If you were going to make a decision about this, to your point, Ken, it would have happened by now. There would have been something out there that we would have been looking for, or at least had murmurs about. But this is how Jocketty operates his teams. He's a free agency guy. He's proven that time and time again.
Yeah.
Name the last landmark trade that Walt Jocketty has orchestrated.
It would have been Latos. I wouldn't even consider the Chu thing landmark because he was basically a rental player.
Exactly. He was a 1-year. Let's give him a try and hope it works.
But guys, I'll tell you this: Mesoraco, Bruce. I haven't given up on him. Votto, Frazier, Hamilton, and you're kind of stuck with Bailey. I think and Chapman.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think anybody in that roster I'd trade. I'd trade Cueto. I'd trade Latos. I'd trade Simon. I'd trade any of those bullpen guys. I would trade. Well, you're not going to have Ludwig. Heisey. Get rid of. I'd trade any of those guys. And that's 7. That's 7 off a 25-man roster that I would keep. So that tells you, if that's your core, and the rest of those guys better do something to support the core.
It's time for the sandwich. I think the sandwich trade we're talking about. Get the sandwich.
The famous sandwich trade.
Get it all on there and ship it out. Get the sandwich moving. Let's get somebody to bite on this.
The trouble is.
What are you talking about?
The trouble with the sandwich is.
The sandwich
the
trade
mayo has gone bad.
The
mayo has gone bad.
There's some lime on there. We're good.
And recall, any of the items, the assets that we may have considered at this point in the season to fire away J.J. Hoover at the end of last season, oh my God! Perfect trade asset. But now that we've gotten to this point, the bullpen's struggled as it has. Some of the guys who are bench players, and even Zach Cozart, he's nowhere near a tradable asset right now for any type of value.
Right.
If you want someone like a Ben Zobrist, who can play almost anywhere in the infield, who is a solid bat, who is a competitive guy. He really, really is. You need to have something that's going to be of value. So right now, unless you're dipping deep into the prospect pocket,
which you'd have to because there's nothing at AAA.
Yes, and fortunately, the replacement trade or draft, happened earlier this week, and Reds had one of the number 1 picks. So there are opportunities there, but it's looking grim.
I think it might be time to get Johnny Gomes back here. He was
a competitive guy.
He's fired up. Let's get him back here.
Yeah, he does. But the problem with Johnny Gomes is he strikes out, and they're a team of big swingers. Your boy Corky's still hurt?
My boy Corky is still struggling along. We may have jinxed him.
I might have.
By pumping him so much this year, and for that, Corky, I apologize.
I don't know the last time Marty Brenneman did a game. I'm hoping it's Friday when they're back in town.
Yeah.
He's been all right. He took some time off.
He took some time off. I'm hoping
summer.
he's back there.
Yeah, I look forward to that as well.
I look forward to next Thursday, as we do every Thursday at 2 o'clock, right here on WCPO.com. It's the 5th mascot. Mr. Satin is our man on the street. Watch for him. PJ is our man at WCPO.com. And I remain what I've been for most of my life. I'm the man in the middle. I'm looking at the man in the middle. Watch for us next Thursday, 2 o'clock, live on WCPO.com on this, the 5th mascot.